Good morning. I'm Sebastian, and I'm here to talk to you about perception and misperception. Let's talk about the idea of human perception. When I think about perception, I almost immediately think about judgment. Anything I see, it's very hard to not see through the lens of humanity. When I look at a tree, I don't just see its beauty. I hear, oh, isn't that beautiful? And when I hear those words in my mind, that means that I am using verbal communication with even myself. And when I get into verbal communication, anything verbal becomes tangential, humanly tangential. It means I could compare the words, I can compare the tree, I can see similarities to something else, I can create oppositions to it, and there are plenty of other things that the human language can do. I can even see something I might do with that tree. I can take a tree and a swimming pool and create a relation to it. Two completely different things. The human mind is able to do that with verbal communication. So when we create perception, when we perceive something in our human mind, we have to allow ourselves to bring it up to the level of judgment. And judgment allows us to, allows the I, the subjective self, to say, do I want to make my next step a loving choice, or do I want to make my next step a judgment? So most of perceptions in our lives becomes judgment. And if we want to undo this, if we want to begin to make atonement in our own minds, we have to start thinking in a loving way. Because when we judge, if we judge someone else or something, we're judging with the same feeling that we feel will judge us. And in turn, what that does is it brings fear at a low level that could rise up to haunt us later. For instance, you see somebody on the street and they have a funny hairdo, or they smell, or they look overweight, or they're smoking, something. You judge them. You look at them and you think, in general, basically what you're saying is, I'm better than that person because that person looks this way or acts this way. And when you do that, you open yourself up to that same sort of criticism. And you don't even realize you're doing it, but you absolutely do. And that creates a fear deep down inside of us that something or someone is going to judge us. So we start to judge ourselves according to some sort of perfect rule. Say, for instance, we judge somebody for their weight. Then the next time we look at ourselves in the mirror, we're going to hold ourselves up to that same kind of judgment. I can't have 2 extra pounds on me. I can't have 10 extra pounds on me. Now this isn't, when it comes to loving self, if we bring that judgment up to the level of love and to the level of choosing love, maybe that kind of judgment on self will allow you to go on a diet and be healthier. If that is the next loving choice for you, then that's not what I would consider a negative judgment. Negative human judgments are judgments that are misperceptions. They are judgments that create negativity bend towards egotism, towards I'm better than you. If you can allow yourself to perceive today without judgment, I can't even imagine. I remember one day in church, God, it must have been about 20 years ago. Someone brought up the idea, can we spend 24 hours, just 24 hours, not judging anything, not judging ourselves, not judging anyone? I think I lasted like 20 minutes at the maximum. It's really, really difficult not to judge. So let's try to just take one step forward. Let's try to say that we're apt to judge, but let's let those judgment rise to a choice of, is this a judgment that I can change to love? Or is this a judgment that I feel like I'm going to live with and create fear and conflict about? Because ultimately, those are the only two choices. You either return to love, you either atone for the negativity of judgment, or you're going to live in fear of being judged yourself. That's our lesson today. I hope that helps you. I hope that brings you some sense of truth. I'm going to say a prayer for us before I hang up. Today, Spirit, if you would soften the ground within our humanness and carve out a space for more love, for less judgment and more love, and allow us to create what humanity needs to disentangle themselves from hate and anger and confusion and the many tormentuous things that are happening on the earth today. Help us be vehicles for that. Help us allow our decisions to rise to a level of choice where we can choose love. And I release that intention to you and to the one infinite creator source that I hope is inspiring me to the infinite love that is you.